Awesome. All right. So essentially today we're going to go over some media strategies for running the fall semester, just kind of with the COVID pandemic in mind, and just, what are some ways that we can expand media and use media to our advantage this semester? And so I know, oh, you're so big, Michaela. Your dog is huge.
He just ran into the door.
What's his name?
It's Theodore, but we call him Theo for short. Theo.
I love dogs.
Look. He's not feeling can't really see him.
So, well, Theo can stay for, but anyways, just like media strategy for this upcoming semester. So if you guys take notes, you can. If not, you can just, if you want to just leave your emails in the comments, I can actually type up my notes so that they're not hieroglyphics in the morning, and I'm happy to send those to you. It's easier, whatever floats your boat. And so what I wanted to go over first is I wanted to go over some remote meeting options that you have in the event that it's difficult to meet on campus, or it makes more sense for your group just to meet remotely. So because there are some groups that aren't here today that are going to be watching this training later, and I already know of a couple of advisors that are planning to run their groups remotely. So first, we're going to go over those things. And what I want to encourage you is, if you're not running your group remotely and it's all still in person, I still think you want to listen to this, because there's definitely some strategy here that you can pull from everything we're going to go over and still cater it to your group. So the first thing for doing remote meetings is obviously Zoom meetings. And I think that's a given, because we were using Zoom before it was cool a year and a half ago. And now everybody has Zoom and everybody's using it, and it's great. And so everybody kind of understands how Zoom works. And so obviously that's the number one recommendation we have for any sort of mobile or virtual meeting that you may end up needing to do. And so, with that, let's say you're meeting in person. Well, maybe you can't meet with, student leaders as easily just because of the pandemic. And maybe, the amount of time you have to meet is restricted. So highly recommend using Zoom as much as possible. The other nice thing with Zoom is down in the corner, there are breakout rooms you can go into. So you always have options to cut up the meeting into a smaller meeting and send people to different rooms if you want to do prayer or discussion. Any of those things. We've used breakout rooms a lot in the last couple of months, just because we've seen how effective it is when you're doing a large meeting, just to break it up into smaller groups so that people can talk. And so that's really effective. And I'm going to include a tutorial on how to do breakout rooms within Zoom effectively in the notes that I'm going to email out tomorrow. So if that's something that interests you, definitely go ahead and check that out. So when COVID hit, one of the cool things that I got to be a part of was when traveling kind of all got debunked for me, I started Zoom calling into a lot of meetings. And so one of the remote options that you do have is, while basic staff may not necessarily be able to get there to speak at your group, or you may not be able to bring in guest speakers, you can utilize the internet and have speakers call in, and that's by Zoom or FaceTime, any of those things. You're able still to put them up on a big screen in a classroom if needed to watch and speak to your group. And so utilizing Zoom is really effective with that, because what you actually have here is you have the opportunity to get more speakers that aren't in your area, and to get, I don't want to say better speakers, but more of a variety of people to help out with your group, because you don't need them to physically travel. You can just have them call. And so utilizing that approach can be really effective with getting some more diversity in your groups and speakers and such, getting staff from basic headquarters or central, whatever we're called, and to speak to you guys, all of that stuff. And so those are just some of the ideas with how to best utilize Zoom. Something else you can do if you don't want to use Zoom, the alternative option is Facebook or Instagram Live. The one downside to doing that is you don't have a way to see the person on the other side of the camera. You just get the comment feed. But there are some people that find that to be an easier option and would prefer to do meetings that way or to speak that way. So that is also an option for remote groups. And so I don't think anybody in here is planning to do fully remote groups right now. Am I correct on that? I think we just have one or two that are going to need to do groups remotely this semester. So, but Calvin, are you guys?
We are most likely doing some remote, but we also have our, since our church has now become the sponsor church for Basic, we also have like college night, Friday nights, young adult college nights on Friday nights anyway. So we may try to use that as a as a bridge as well for some of the personal touch, if you will.
And see, actually, that's perfect because that was something that I was going to go into next was how can we utilize our church? And a lot of people, you're not allowed to go onto the campus and hold a club meeting, but students are allowed to leave the campus for activities and stuff. And so for a lot of people, what we're finding is maybe an advisor has a large home, or someone in the group has a family member locally that they can open up to the group where they could meet there. A lot of people are moving the meetings to the church for this semester because they can meet at the church but they can't meet on the club, or they just can't get the same resources on the club, microphones and stuff like that. And so explore those options. It doesn't need to be even a weekly thing. That's the thing. It can be the type of thing where, we're just going to meet remotely, or we're going to meet in person and just, change it up a little bit for the meeting. But then we're also able to open up the church on an alternate night or in a different way to give just another connecting point and another night of the week that people can connect. And I know Chris went over this with the advisors already, and we're going to actually go over this in our training next week that we do with just ways to better connect with your students. But the more you guys are able to do in this season, the better. That's kind of been our mantra that we've realized is at this point, there's so many things shut down that actually we have a little bit more time in some ways to connect with students because people are bored and people don't have as much to do. And obviously there's still the stress of school full time. We don't want to, discount that, but we have a lot more time to connect and we have a lot more opportunity here to kind of build this community. And there's also more of a want. The heart of this is that every year we have students looking for, belonging and looking for community. And right now with COVID and just the lack of things to choose from, I think Basic can stand out. And so that's definitely something that we want to do, and we want to look at how can we best, put ourselves in that position where people can reach Basic and they can get connected. And so, for remote meetings, that's just kind of some of those things. The second thing I wanted to go over is how can we adjust our in-person meetings as a result of COVID. And the first thing, and I'm not really going to get into this because each school is different and you've already heard the spiel, but follow COVID guidelines, first of all, because nothing's more embarrassing and, kind of bummer than getting your group shut down because people aren't following the school's guidelines for clubs. And so be sure first and foremost that you're following your school's guidelines in that regard. And so for those that can meet in person on a weekly basis, there's alternate ways of doing things. Maybe we're cutting out worship because we can't get access to microphones and speakers, and that becomes a challenge. Or I know some people like to play worship from YouTube and just put the words up on the screen. So maybe you do that as an alternative to having like live worship because it's just not feasible equipment wise. So we adjust. The second thing is maybe a student doesn't feel comfortable coming. I have a lot of friends that are still home. They're still very religious, not going out other than for groceries and other things. And even the things they are allowed to do, they're not doing because they just don't feel safe. And so there's a likelihood that you'll have students this semester, you'll have friends this semester that are either doing college online, or even if they're on campus, they don't feel comfortable going to a big gathering outside of classes or meals. And so we went over the remote options. Well, those remote options can be implemented for an in-person meeting as well. And so set up a Zoom call ahead of time, send it out to all the students, even the students that regularly attend. Who knows, maybe they're ill that weekend, maybe they're not able to come for one reason or another. And so set up a Zoom call, even if it's the type of thing that you just put it up there with the speaker, you acknowledge the students, we do something fun. And you know what? It's going to probably be janky, but this semester is going to be a little bit janky. But you know what? That connection and going that extra step to say we still want you to feel part of this speaks a lot louder than a mediocre video stream does to a student. Set up that IG live, post on your Instagram. We're going to be going live 7 o'clock for our basic meeting every week this semester, and go live. So that way people that aren't there, FOMO is terrible. And so if you can set up a way that people can still connect to you from afar, that goes a really long way for someone that's feeling depressed or anxious, or just someone that likes the community, someone that's been attending already and wants to continue. And along with that, it's a gateway for new members to join your groups, because a lot of people, maybe they don't have an hour to come check out your meeting in person. But, they see posters, they see something about, oh, we live stream it, and they can just go on their phone on Instagram, they can pull it up and they can check in. And it becomes a connecting point as well. Something else is record your basic meetings. If a student isn't able to make it because of a time constraint or something, record your meetings and make it available at another time. Whether that's, do it Facebook Live and, save it to your page, have a student record the meeting on their iPhone with like a selfie stick or a tripod, or a chair. You'd be surprised how well you can balance your phone. You don't really need all the fancy gear. I've done video shoots before where I just throw my camera on a chair because I forgot something, and it's doable. It's not pretty, but it's doable. And so look at ways that we can do that, so that we can provide meetings almost on demand to students that aren't able to be there, or they're just not able to be there at that time. And so we've got technology, we might as well use it. That's kind of become a saying that I pound into everyone's minds at work. So might as well use the technology that we have in front of us. And so some other just suggestions and stuff for remote meetings that work really well is start everything out with an icebreaker. And if you're doing something in person, come up with icebreakers and activities, whether it's discussion, that can also be done remotely so that the person doesn't feel left out. Or come up with an alternative one and find a student leader to go run it on the Zoom call. So I get it. Sometimes you want to get up and you want to run around and you want to play a game, and that's fun. And I'll let you in on a little secret. When I visit the musical chairs and stuff to kick off their games, it's always the best, because I don't play these games if not when I'm not visiting groups. So stuff like that is super fun and it's super great. But to someone that's on a virtual call, I'm not going to watch that. So get a student leader to go over and do an alternative activity with the people on the team that they can participate in, so that they still feel like they're a part. And then if you are completely remotely, the list I have of online games that are really good. So Kahoot is one, Scattergories, Drawful, just general trivia, or bingo. So I don't know if you want to play bingo unless there's money involved, but stuff like that. And then there's also a link that I'm going to send to you guys. It's like the top 10 Zoom games for your club. And so I've heard of 3 or 4 of them. You may want to look into some other ones. Just a disclaimer, one of them is Cards Against Humanity, so I'm not recommending playing that one at your basic group. So obviously you need discretion, but these are some fun suggestions that the internet gave me on Zoom games that are good for like icebreaker activities, or that you can play in under like 10 minutes. Another fun virtual thing that you are able to do is Netflix party. So if you decide you want to do a movie night with your group, you want to just kind of relax and chill, Netflix party is a great option. We did a couple of those that we hosted a couple weeks ago, well, months ago now, because it was like March and April, and we had a lot of fun watching movies with just the basic students and advisors, and we had a really good time with that. We really recommend doing stuff like that with your group. Just coming up with other virtual alternate activities that you can do outside of the group, because maybe the bonfire isn't an option, maybe the dinner at so-and-so's house isn't the option, but there are still ways that you can connect online outside of the group to have those fun activities that people can that people can be a part of. So just going down from there, some key things that we identified that are really crucial to make sure you're tackling in an in-person meeting. The first thing is provide materials digitally if you have them. So I don't know if you hand out notes or you go over slides or something, but provide those digitally ahead of time to students that are watching remotely, or even for students that are there, because passing around a paper just doesn't sound great right now. The second thing is students right now are looking for quality connection more than ever. So upping the texts and the calls and times and Skype chats are really key. And it's just a great way to stay in contact with people. When we were in lockdown, time saved my life a couple times when I was about to go crazy, because I would FaceTime my friends for 4 hours and talk about nothing. And it was great. And I still like hanging out with them more in person, but you know what? It was something. And so upping the communication with people is key. The second thing is, it's a great opportunity to up your social media presence. In 2020, you don't have to be a Photoshop wizard to run a social media page effectively. There's some great apps like Unfold and Canva that are wonderful if you want to design stuff on your phone. There's sites such as Unsplash and Pixabay that have great quality stock photos and stuff for graphic building. There's a lot of templates on sites that you can find online as well to create graphics, but utilize your social media as best as possible, because without access necessarily to groups for a lot of people doing remote things, social media is the best way for people to find you, and it's the best way for you to stay connected to students that are maybe at home or just in a different season. And so upping that social media communication is key, because it continues to build that bridge of community that you may not be able to have in person. So the next thing is, and this is directly to student leaders, this is a great time for student leaders to just kind of step up. And so, and I'm not saying this in any way to make it sound like, student leaders aren't, doing phenomenal. We've got some phenomenal student leaders that I'm blown away by every time I visit groups. But this is a great time to kind of, take lead on certain things. If the advisor's not able to be there, in person, and the advisor's not able to, because we have some advisors that visit the campus multiple times a week and check in with students and meet for coffee and really, build that bridge. And so in this season, there's going to be a lot of need for student leaders to come alongside and help with that. And so, find activities that you can do outside of your meetings on campus if you're there, to just kind of help to cultivate that community, help new people feel included. You may not be able to meet in person, but you may be able to have Bible study in your dorm room. You might be able to host movie nights in, your room or your on-campus apartment, stuff like that. And just looking for ways that you can help step up and lead in, building community activities is going to be really key this semester, because advisors are not necessarily going to be able to do that to the same extent. So seriously, take that as a challenge. Don't take that as condemnation, because that's not at all what it is. But step up in the community aspect, if that's something that you really feel like the Lord has given you that gift. And if you feel like that's not your gifting, going out and really like getting people together, find somebody that can and figure out how you can help. Because I know a lot of introverted people that are scared to host something, but they'll go buy snacks and they'll go make brownies. So it's like, how can I help the community grow? Because trust me, the person that brings brownies is just as important as the person that sent out the message to the group chat to get everybody together. I guarantee. So another thing for advisors that are meeting remotely, care packages can be really big if you're send something in mass. This usually works for smaller groups, people that are, groups that are probably under 10 people. If you're at UB where there's like 70 people, I don't think you're gonna be able to send a care package for 70 people. But there's a lot of advisors who like to come in midweek with brownies or cookies or something and hand them out to students. And you may not necessarily be able to do that with COVID regulations, but you may be able to drive up to the campus and drop off a box and have a student leader do it. You might be able to, mail in stuff, send personal notes to students. I think students still have mailboxes, unless they finally got rid of them, because I still have mail keys from when I was in college on my keychain, stuff like that. And that stuff goes a long way. And so just find ways and connecting points. And these are ideas. These are the brainstorming of me and Chris. There's unlimited options and ideas that you have, but start thinking outside of the box, both digitally and physically, in ways that you can make basic unique this semester to best fit your group. I was reading an article that can't remember if it was Time Magazine or New York Times, one of them put out, and it was about college clubs and remote meetings in general, and it was just about how to best keep up a schedule and how to best keep people engaged during the remote season. And some of the things that they said really stuck out to me was they said the three keys to a good meeting is starting out with an interactive piece, whether that's online or somewhat in person, because that makes people feel more relaxed, more engaged. The second thing is stick to your normal meeting times. So a lot of people feel, they feel the need to change meeting times to best fit a, remote schedule, but don't do that. Keep the same meeting time you had last time, because it brings a sense of normalcy for people. And then the third thing is, as best as possible, continue doing things the way you were and instead of trying to go around the things necessarily that you were doing before, look for ways to either adjust them or cut them. So, for worship, if you don't have speakers and stuff and it doesn't sound good, don't still do worship. Just do YouTube videos. Find either an alternate thing that is still good quality or cut it. But what they said is, basically, they were like, don't, I don't know what a word is that doesn't have a swear word in it. Don't half do it, Don't half bake the idea. Just, we want to do everything with excellence and we want to do everything within our means. So don't break your back doing it, finding a way to do it remotely, and at the same time, try to keep up as much consistency as possible. And I know those two things contradict each other, but you'll find the middle ground. I have total faith in you. And so just to recap, just the three things that we went over today that you'll probably want to focus on in the notes. The first thing is go over the remote options that we have for remote meetings if you're doing your meetings remotely. The second thing is, if you are doing in-person meetings, look over what are the things that I can do to help accommodate students that aren't here or students that don't feel comfortable coming to the meeting. And then the third thing is, how can I be present from afar? Or if I am on campus and I am present as a student leader, how can I step up and, help to build that community in an advisor's absence, or just, the restraint that they have just during this season. And so now I just want to spend the next 5-10 minutes answering any questions you guys have, any suggestions, any ideas, anything was confusing, we can, go over it again. So I'm done talking now.
So like this is gonna be not really I won't call it a dumb question, but like an obvious one. So like would probably be the best thing to do, even like even if like let's say clubs are all on campus. What like it'll probably be like the smartest thing to do is to either put like on IGTV or like I mean sorry IG Live or like Zoom, like no matter what, like that's probably like the best thing to do.
Yeah. So the thing that I'm personally seeing, so I just graduated college. I'm all done. But I have siblings that are still in college. I have friends that are still in college. And what we're seeing is I see a lot of stuff on people's story asking questions about, suggestions for doing a remote semester. I already know of, half a dozen basic students, even off the top of my head, that opted to do remote classes. And so some of them are student leaders. And so and so your group's definitely going to look different, even if you are on campus and able to meet, because some people just didn't, or, some. So what you want to do is provide an online option for people to stream it from home. And so I think for smaller groups, your group, 5 to 10 people, maybe 10 to 15 people max, a Zoom call works because it's still an intimate enough group that works. I would say if you're over 15 people, you have a larger group, and you still have those 15 people coming, because I think you're also going to see groups that had 30, 40 people look more like 15, 20. You're going to want to probably do an IG Live setup. If you can facilitate Zoom, do it. If you don't facilitate it, don't, because Zoom is definitely more of a meeting space, whereas IGTV is a live stream video. It's going to be a better video quality. The other thing is, you can still interact with people on Instagram TV. Something that my church does when we do a down service once a month, and we have a lot of people that just can't make it every month, and so we put it on Instagram Live, and we get like 200 people that watch it. And our pastor's wife is always home with the kids, and so she'll hop on the stream and answer questions in the comments. So you can still interact with people. Just get a moderator. It's almost the same as you'll have a little bit more of a person, but if you need to, just get a moderator, and you'll still be able to have that connecting point. So, but yeah, I would recommend to every group that you provide some sort of virtual stream of your group meeting every week, so that people that aren't there can still participate. So, and then I'll probably Zoom meetings, and at the end of the year we'll do a ranking. I'm just kidding. So that's a good question. Don't be shy.
Oh. I will have to rely on the student leaders quite a bit. Personally, I don't do social media. I mean, I watch some things on YouTube, but I personally don't do any social media.
Yeah.
So I'll rely on them quite a bit for that. But also our young adult pastor, college pastor at the church, and the whole team there, we have a college internship program as well. So I've talked with him about having those young people come and help serve our students at the campus, and so they can help out with some of that stuff, which will be fairly easy for them without jamming my brain up too much. I was thinking with you were talking about the care packages and that sort of a thing, that may also be a way for the students to have an activity. And I don't know, again, about what other requirements are, but if at St. Rose, if you are a student association sponsored group, you have a certain number of activities that you have to do, and like service projects and that sort of, or collaborative activities with other student groups. Don't know how much those requirements will be relaxed this year, but that may be another way to have your students serve the campus community that they're in. So
yeah, that's a good.
Just an idea that, as you were saying that. I mean, we've done sort of random acts of kindness things on the campus anyway, where the student group, where they've just gone and handed out baked goods in a particular dorm or even with administration or whatever. So that might be helpful.
Yeah.
As an activity thing, but I've got a lot to learn with all of this, especially if, I think I need to start getting a grip on some of the social media stuff, even though I don't really typically do it myself. It would be nice to get a grip on some of this. So I'll look forward to your notes and some of the tools that you've mentioned. And I should
on the spot, student leaders, help people understand. If you understand social media and you're like a tech wizard, help somebody out that doesn't really understand it that wants to, because that's huge. I'm grateful for the people that because we're doing basic content and online setting this year, to the people that have been teaching me Boxcast live streaming, because it's a little bit more outside of my range of expertise, and I appreciate the people that have time to explain to me how that works. For somebody that understands Instagram Live, how to best use Zoom and stuff, if you have a really good group at that, go ahead. Like, it's always great when to somebody else. So whatever skills you have to bring to the table, share them with the group and collaborate. That's going to be a really big key thing this semester, I think, for groups to do well, is how can we collaborate and bring our skills together to best do this semester together. So and collaborate with other people. I meant to mention earlier, because everything's remote, do a combined group with a group that's 5-6 hours away from you that you wouldn't be able to do a collaborative meeting with.
Good idea too.
Like that, there's a lot of fun things that you can do this semester to connect with other people, and I think looking back, it can be a unique time for your group, so that when you are back in person and things are somewhat stable again, you can still see the fruit of this semester. And just as we wrap up, something I want to encourage you guys with is this semester is not a wash. This isn't just like the cheap asterisk semester that we kind of threw together and made happen and we got through. We're not looking for group survival right now. We're looking for groups to go deeper and to connect on a deeper level. Something that we've just been so with is that COVID brings out depression and a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry and frustration and stress. And ultimately, Jesus is the solution to that. And within us, we're the solution for COVID. We're carrying, the cure to all of these problems and emotional frustrations that are coming up in people's lives. So we may not have a cure right away, but we already have for the stress and the side effects that we're seeing from a lot of people with just being in this pandemic mode. And so I would challenge you, student leaders, look for ways to speak into people's ways to expand your community, because people are looking for that. And I mean, suicide rates are high enough right now. And we're, taking a lot of time to pray against that. But I think that a lot of emotional, physical, and spiritual, warfare is going to happen in this season within the mind. And we want to be very aware of that. And so, to advisors, I don't know, group, it may mean taking time. How's everybody doing? And just creating a safe space where people can come to you and talk about how they're struggling, just with the pandemic. It may, people are tired of talking. People just need, a distraction. So, maybe we play games for a whole, we don't do a word because people are just too burned out to listen. Like, you know what I mean? But look for ways to accommodate with, just the COVID reaction that people are going to be having as well. So, does anybody else have any?
That's good.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for giving me an hour of your time. I hope you're mailing out those notes to everyone tomorrow. And I'm, as a whole, as basic for you guys right now, we believe that the Lord's got a lot of for. So yeah, go kick butt this semester. God's got something really exciting for the groups, and I'm really firmly believing that there's going to be a lot of seeds of revival that are planted through this time, because I'm already seeing it. I'm already seeing it, and there's right now solution. And like I said before, you guys have that, and so go give it to people. So, and it's going to get uncomfortable. There's going to be situations where you don't want to do it and it's uncomfortable, but we're called for such a time, and I feel like the Lord has equipped every single one of you to thrive this semester. So,
Amen.
All right, guys. Well, have a good night, and I will talk to you soon. So, bye, guys.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you guys.